Hello. Hi. How are you? This is Coach Aaron Saft in the Running is Life podcast. Today, my guest is Michael Davis. Michael Davis and I worked together back in 2023 to help him in his marathon training and on his way to trying to run 100 milers in 2 consecutive months. It was a heck of a training cycle with all those goals. Very, very distinct, very different. Training hard for a marathon and then going into 100-mile training. As you'll hear, Michael struggled after those, but he definitely took a lot away from that, and he's learned a lot, as you'll hear about. And he's on a great mission right now, looking to raise money for Young Life and for their scholarships for their summer camps, which is just awesome. I love what he's doing, and the fact that he brought running into this to try to raise funds for these kids and their opportunities to do these such things. I think that's wonderful. So we're gonna deep dive into what he's thinking and what he's doing and how things have been going. And really enjoy catching up with Michael. It's been a while since we've talked, so it was a nice conversation. And afterwards, we'll catch up on all things in the Running is Life world. And just in case you don't make it to that point, I'm wishing you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. I hope, you had a happy Thanksgiving. This will come out after Thanksgiving, so I hope everybody enjoyed their Thanksgiving. And we'll talk to you at the end. Michael and I are ready to discuss his newest adventure, but before we get into all of that, let's just take a step back and hear about Michael. Michael, so give us the rundown of Michael Davis. Where did this all start from?
Yeah, so thanks, Aaron. I guess my running career, started really back in 2022. I took a trip to the Frying Pan Towers with a group of friends, and we had to take a helicopter out to the tower. It's being remote out in the middle of the ocean. And in doing so, we also had to hop on some scales to kind of weigh each of us to determine where we would actually sit in the helicopter so that we could evenly load it. Well, I hopped on the scale that day and realized that I was up over 200 pounds at that point. And not only that, after they kind of placed us, I ended up having to sit in the back of the helicopter. And so I missed out on all those good views up in the front of the helicopter that day. And we went out there, we had a great time. But anyway, I come home and I realized that it was time for a change. I needed to do something in order to kind of get my body back right, lose some weight. And so I found running. And at the time, I could hardly run a mile. I ran with the same group of guys as part of F3, and they were running, and they made it look easy. And I tried to keep up, and I couldn't do it. And it frustrated me, and it made me want to kind of, it pushed me to be better. And so I kind of really took it upon myself to just pick up running. And I started doing that there in 2022, and kind of really hit the ground running with it, literally. I signed up for the Kiowa Marathon in December of 2022. So I went from not running at all to looking forward to running a marathon. And so I ran pretty much that entire year and went out at Kiowa in 2022 with the goal of running sub 4 and hit that 3:56. And that opened the floodgates right there. That showed me that I was capable of doing really anything I kind of put my mind to. I immediately walked away from Kiowa and started thinking, what now? And so there in February of 2023, there was the Sandhills Ultra Race here in Columbia. It's a 30-hour race. So I said, hey, I just ran a marathon. That didn't kill me. Why don't I try to go run 30 hours? And so I just really jumped off the deep end and went all in with running. And I spent the next couple of months kind of preparing for the unknown, really. And I went out there and in 2023, and I ran the Sandhills 30-hour in 29 hours, 33 minutes, hitting 100 miles out there. And so that was that was essentially my beginning to running. Going from a marathon straight into 100.
That's pretty incredible. Um, a lot of times we talk about this journey and especially with a weight loss journey that, running has become a huge part of that. Was there any other pieces that attributed to that? Did you change your diet? Any other habits that you changed in order to make this transformation?
Of course, yeah. I think a lot of it wasn't immediate. It took me a while to realize that it's more than just running. The diet is a big part, and again, it's something that now it's not really a diet for me. It's just a way of life. It's it's being responsible about what you're putting into your body. And so diet has been a big part of that. Another thing for me is alcohol. I've pretty much eliminated alcohol from my life, which has been great. Used to drink, socially and kind of around the house. But now I've kind of eliminated that. So when you get up to go for a run early in the morning, it's a lot easier not having the feelings from the alcohol or whatever it may be. And just overall, I feel better about myself. I feel better about my health, and I feel like those changes, both from a diet perspective and the alcohol, pretty much kind of made me feel comfortable knowing that I hope to be around a long time for both my wife and my kids.
That's awesome. That's powerful. And you mentioned F3, which is, a great community. People may not know what F3 is. Do you mind talking a little bit about F3 and what that community has meant to you and what changes it's helped bring about to you and support?
Absolutely. So F3 is Fitness, Fellowship, and Faith. And I'm part of F3 group here in Blythewood, South Carolina. We call ourselves F3 Sawmill. And so I've been with these guys for a little over 10 years. Some of them have been there from my very first day. And I've grown very close with this group of men. And we've done a lot of wild things together over the course of these years. But they really are like brothers to me. We get up, we work out in the mornings. F3 is a boot camp type program, and so it's peer led by us. There's no instructors. It's free of charge. It's open to all men. It's conducted outdoors, rain or shine, hot or cold, doesn't matter. We meet around 5 o'clock, 5:15 in the mornings. We have workouts 6 days a week. We have boot camp groups, we have running groups, we have rucking groups. We have a little bit of everything for everybody. And F3 is not really, it's not just here in Blackfoot. F3 has spread and it is across the country and even outside of our country. It's massive. And it's just a great group of guys that I've grown to love and know that I can count on for basically anything that kind of comes up. So if you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to kind of look into it. F3nation.com. You can find a group that's local to you and go be part of something great.
That's awesome. Now you've also continued to ultra. I believe you now have 5 100-mile finishes to your name. Is that correct?
That's right. I'm 5 out of 5, fortunately, and so yeah, we knocked out a few more. Um, I guess back in July of 2023, I started working with you. I reached out to you and kind of told you some crazy plans that I had then. My plan was then to go back to Kiowa there in December and try to PR. And then I wanted to kind of leave out of Kiowa, taking on carrying that fitness on, and I wanted to do kind of a double. I wanted to do the Dark Anchor there in January, another 100-miler, and then I wanted to turn around and go back for revenge at Sandhills and get another 100 there, trying to PR that one as well. So we worked together. for leading up to that December marathon, and that was an awesome time. You taught me a lot of things there. I guess the main thing I guess I can take away from the time with you is heart rate training. That's something I was never into, um, but am a true believer of it. And it has helped me tremendously in my running career, and I thank you for that. But we worked together. We ran 3:26 at Kiowa that year, and so that was awesome. Knocked off 30 minutes or about 30 minutes off my time there, so that was cool. And we were feeling pretty fit, and we went into Dark Anchor, and I was able to run a 22:54 there for 100 miles, and turned around the very next month and ran Sandhills at 25:48. So did a pretty solid PR there as well. Unfortunately, I kind of walked away from all that with a little bit of an injury. I wore a boot for quite some time after that, and took a few months off, and then kind of picked things back up and decided I was going back again to Kiowa later that year. And so I trained all of 2024, or not all of 24. I guess after those 2 months, I picked back up and started training the remainder of 2024, and went and ran Kiowa, and actually qualified for Boston with a 3:13. Unfortunately, the dreaded Boston buffer got me, and I did not make it in. But we'll conquer that another time. But anyway, I was super pleased with that. Just constantly progressing with my marathon running, and really then that last December I felt like in probably the best shape of my life. And so I left out of Kiowa and went and ran the Charleston 100, and that was just a magical race for me. It was by far the coolest experience, getting to run through Charleston, basically seeing everything you can think of in Charleston. And it was magical. That's the best way I can put it. But I ran the Charleston 100 and got a 100-mile time of 20 hours and 13 minutes, which is far more than I even set out to do. My goal for that race was, hey, if you can go out and run a sub 24 hour, finally get that. Well, I guess get that would be great. But I just went out and I felt great, and things were clicking, and I decided to ride that thing until the wheels fell off. And fortunately, the wheels didn't fall off. And it was amazing. Like, just magical is the best way that I could put it. But ran that, and then my last 100-mile race followed up in April of this past year. I went and ran the country mile, and was able to complete that, getting 100 miles done in 28 hours on that one. But that one was brutal. That one was it was extremely hot. There was a lot of walking going on there in the daytime hours, just trying to keep moving and not overheat. But that was brutal. That was very brutal. But I got through it. No quitting. And so that kind of brings us up to speed on my 100-mile adventures.
It sure does. To do a lot of this, I like to talk about the mental side of things. Who has been some of your inspirations or guides so far as like the mental aspect of this goes? Where does your resiliency come from? Is it something that was innate, something that was learned, perhaps a bit of both? Where did that come from?
It's I'm pretty stubborn, I think, and I mean, I just refuse to kind of to give up, and sometimes I push myself in a way that may be unhealthy, and I've paid for that in past races. But it's the thought of putting something out there and knowing that other people, they could probably care less if I finish or not. But I've put that out there that, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to find a way to do it. Um, I just kind of have one of those no quit mentalities. And I don't know if I don't know how it was learned or where it really came from, to be honest with you. I think that's just my personality and how I've always been. When I put my mind towards something, the weight loss goal, starting with it, you know, I go all in on kind of everything that I do. And I think that's just part of it, just the desire to succeed. And I'm willing to kind of do whatever's necessary to do that.
And you have a fairly young family. Where do they enter this picture?
Uh, there, I have a lovely wife, Elizabeth. I have a son, Miles, who's 12, and I have a daughter who is 9. And my goal with them is I try to do all of my work early in the morning, getting up 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, doing what's needed. I try to time it to where I'm coming back in the door around 6:30, to where they're getting up, starting to get ready for school, that kind of thing. And so um, I try to be there for them in the morning. I have kind of learned over the past few years that it's definitely a struggle. Honestly, I used to say that I do all this in the morning so that I can have time with them, but honestly, I've kind of sacrificed a lot of time with them, because in being able to get up and do this early in the morning, I, of course, have to go to bed early. Um, and so I do go to bed early, and a lot of times some of my folks aren't asleep. And so I do realize that that I am missing out some there. And that's obviously something that I would like to kind of do better with, is managing my time with my family. I have let some of these obsessions, if you will, kind of take over and detract from that. And so it's something I see. It's just not something that I have found a way to fully manage, if you will.
And do you communicate that with them, with your wife and your kids? Like, I'm planning on doing this, like in your upcoming adventure here, which we're about to talk about. What do you share with them, if anything? How do you communicate those things?
I keep them as up to date as I can with things. I think with running, it's become to them, oh, you're running again. And so they kind of know that I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock. I'm gonna get up and run, and I kind of play a little game with my daughter every now and then. How many miles do you think I ran this morning? And so they they've become familiar with my routine, and it's just something that that's there. I try to have them um, be involved as much as possible. We do a lot of little 5Ks together as a family, and that's great to go out and kind of be able to run with them. The past, I said, few years, maybe at first I'd go out and I'd say, hey, let's go do these 5Ks. And, I'd go out and I'd do my own thing. And I really didn't get to experience that with them. And so I kind of have taken a step back. And the last few that we did, I've just kind of went along and enjoyed it with them, kind of going at their paces and trying to encourage my kids to not walk and to kind of keep going. And a lot of times they hate me after it's over, but hey, we're spending some time together, and I'm encouraged by that.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Um, so you've now evolved into this new project. So let's talk about that. What's the name of the project? What's the idea behind it? Who's it for? Let's get into the meat and potatoes here.
Yeah. So in December 12th, I will be running 200 miles along the Palmetto Trail from Allendale into Columbia here. I'm going to be doing so to raise money for Young Life here in Northeast Columbia. Young Life is a Christian outreach ministry focused on building relationships with middle school, high school, and college kids. Young Life, they send leaders into the schools and into their everyday world, like going to ball games, practices, and again at school, going to lunches with them, showing them that they're valued and loved, and and showing them that their life has a purpose. It's essentially a relationship ministry. It's carrying adults that go in and walk alongside these students in their world, sharing the gospel in a really approachable way, helping them grow in their faith. And so the Young Life Northeast Columbia here, they serve our schools in Blythewood, Ridgeview, Spring Valley, and Westwood. And so all the money that we raise through this effort is going to go directly toward camp scholarships for Young Life next year. So we're going to ensure that every student, regardless of their background, has a chance to experience a life-changing week at a Young Life camp. And so that's really what we're going for here. I didn't know a lot about Young Life until recently. After getting rejected, I guess, if you will, from Boston, that kind of stung, because there's a lot of effort that goes into doing something like that, and thinking that you've done everything right and that you've checked all the boxes, and then getting rejected is tough. That stings. And about the same time I got that, I was invited to a Young Life banquet by some friends, and my wife and I attended, and we got to eat some good barbecue, but more importantly, we got to listen to these kids. These kids got up and spoke and shared their experiences. And I heard some of the same things that I was experiencing. Some of these kids would express how they felt unwanted, how they felt rejected. And those things, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm 46 years old. Like, these kids are sitting here, they're experiencing the same thing I'm experiencing, kind of in a different way, right? But it's the same feelings. And so I walked away from that banquet with that heavy on my heart for a while. And I reached out to the gentleman who invited me, and his wife is kind of one of the directors of Young Life. And I said, hey, I got an idea here. It's like, I want to run the Palmetto Trail from Allendale to Columbia, and I want to do it to raise funds for Young Life. I had no idea how I would even do that. Like, I had not thought through any of it at all. But I felt God put it on my heart to do something. And so I reached out, and he said, sure, give me a second. And so I guess he made a quick phone call and got back with me like 2 minutes later and said, we got a call with Young Life Monday at 4:00 to talk this through. And I was like, wow, this is real. We're about to do this. And so I met with the Young Life folks that following Monday, and they were all about it. They were excited that I was willing to do something, I guess, so crazy for them and for these kids. And so, I had no idea how any of it was going to come together, but they stepped up. They said, hey, we got the website. We can put that together, all the fundraising, like, we can handle all that. All you need to do is focus on the running side of things. So I'm like, great. God's got that taken care of. So the next thing is, how am I really going to do this? The Palmetto Trail is completely remote. There's not a lot of gas stations. There's not really any. There might be 1 or 2 gas stations along the way. There's not really any restaurants. There's not opportunities for things. I've got to have a crew. There's no way I can carry as many items as I need for that many days. And so I got my F3 guys. I reached out I told them what I was thinking about doing, and the response from them was overwhelming. You know, and right now I've got a group of 10 of them who have agreed to kind of help crew, doing shifts over the course of a few days to be able to do this. And so I'm so very grateful for their friendship and for their willingness to be able to come out and support me, um, over the course of what I hope to be about 3 days to be able to accomplish this. So we've got the fundraising set up. We've got the purpose, all for Young Life. We want to send kids to camp in 2026. That's our mission. And now I've got the crew. And so now all I've got to do is really, truly go out and focus on running and getting this thing done.
You said December 12th, so we're we're recording here on what, the 24th, so you've got about what, 3 weeks? Is that right?
A little less than 3 weeks. That's right.
Right on. And how has training gone thus far?
Well, I don't really know how to train for a 200. This will be over twice the distance that I've ever done. But I feel very much in shape. I'm I'm feeling good. I'm just focusing on getting time on feet right now. Trying to get in as many miles as I can without overdoing it. Um, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling confident. Things have just fallen in place, and I know that things will continue to work out as I move closer to this adventure.
So, one of my best friends who crews and paces me at like everything I do, he and his friend, they, I don't know if they're currently still, but they set an FKT on the Palmetto Trail, for the whatever it is, 500 miles of the
Mm-hmm.
Palmetto Trail. So if you need someone to talk to about how they did logistics, whatever, he's great and he's a wonderful resource. So I can connect the two of you because he could share a lot. Um,
Yep.
and the way they did it was that they set aside and said, like, on this day, I want to try to accomplish this many miles. Because, of course, 500 miles, you can't just keep going. You got to sleep, right? Whereas 200 miles, you can plan for smaller sleep breaks and such. So, just like we plan for 200-mile races for yourself, I would say, like, you plan a little bit of sleep breaks. The body typically needs about 2 hours in order to to keep functioning. You can typically make it, or like most of us make it around 30 hours, around 100 miles or so, and then typically lay down for about 2 hours, and then you can certainly take naps whenever you need to. But um, I would say, like, when you think about your logistics, like, think about how are you going to sleep? Like, is it going to be in the back of a vehicle? Or are you going to set up a tent? Are you going to go to a hotel? Like, those type of things, are all just small things to think about in this big picture here. And if 3 days, looking at roughly about, maybe 65-ish miles a day. So that's not bad. You're looking at about 100K a day. The Palmetto Trail, the stretch that you're doing, is it paved?
So there's a good split. There is a good
Okay.
bit of it that does run on road that is considered Palmetto Trail.
Yeah.
Um, but to me, I look at that as a positive. I'm a road runner at heart. And so I think that I'll be able to make some pretty good time on the roads, hopefully without
Yeah.
kind of overdoing it. It's gonna be tough kind of putting on the brakes, but I know I'm going to need to. But I think making up some good time on the road is going to be good. So that way I can focus on kind of slowing things down on the trails, not wanting to get hurt and anything. So that's kind of my game plan. As far as the sleep, we've got a van that we've got. I do plan on taking some naps in the van as needed. I'm not necessarily scheduling them. I'm more so just expecting them. And I'm going to just listen to the body. And when the time comes where I feel like we're going to need that, we're going to have the van. The goal for the crew is to kind of hop along at all the road crossings along the way. And so there'll be plenty of opportunities to see them throughout the course of this. And like I say, when the body says, "Hey, you're gonna need a break," we're gonna take a break.
Good.
Otherwise, we're gonna keep on pushing.
Nice. Yeah. That's great. That's great. Um, how is it? I know navigationally, and my friend did it a few years ago. He had some challenges with navigation. Have you been on this section? Are you familiar with a lot of this section of the Palmetto?
I have not been on most of it.
Okay.
I've reached out to a few people. I've tried to gather as much knowledge as I can. I've gone through Google Earth at every single road crossing and tried to visualize every crossing. I've made detailed notes along the trail, just kind of following it on the Google Maps, um, of where there's like B's in the path, and so where I need to. So I've made a lot of notes, but that's also something that I want to rely heavily on with my crew is taking these notes and kind of understanding like the sections that they may be kind of with me on is relying on them to kind of help guide me so I'm not necessarily having to stare at my phone, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I am putting a lot on them for doing that, but I've also kind of done a lot of I know which sections I think will be the most difficult, and we're going to try to focus on those as we go. um, so yeah, it's there's a lot of unknown here, but I think that's kind of what makes a lot of it so exciting is stepping into the unknown.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's super awesome, man. And so how can people find out more about this or donate? Where can they go?
So there is a website that's set up. I'm hoping you could provide some links in the show notes.
Yeah, of course.
We have a donation link where you can go and you could donate to help send these kids to Young Life Camp next year. We also have a live tracking page. Through the Charleston 100, we wore GPSs out there, and I was able to reach out to the company who provided the tracking for that, and they have set up a website for us on this effort. And so I'll be wearing GPS, and there'll be live tracking throughout the entire race. And so there's a website where you can go in, you can see the entire route that's going to be ran. You'll be able to see where I'm at any point in time over the course of the race. And along with that, I would also like to point out that we've got a donor who has pledged not only for every mile that I run, but they have also pledged $1 per mile for every person who joins me along the trail. So I'm encouraging as many people as possible to come out, find me on the trail, use the tracking, figure out where we're at, come join me for a mile, however many miles, join me and be part of the adventure with me, and know that by you coming out, you're helping add to our total. So yeah, I just encourage you to follow along, help support, be part of this adventure.
And Friday, December 12th, what time are you starting?
We backed it up. I think we're going to start around 3 a.m.
Okay.
We're going to kind of get a little head start early that morning. Our goal is going to be finishing up in downtown Columbia at Waterfront Park around 6 p.m. So I'd love to be able to finish right around dark that Sunday afternoon, but obviously there's a lot of what ifs there. So we've tried to plan as much as we can. If I've learned anything through doing these hundreds, you can have an amazing plan. You can spend a lot of time thinking about how things are going to go, but the moment you set foot off on that race, things go out the window, and there's a lot of figuring out. So, however, I've tried to minimize as much of that as possible and kind of just tried to focus on some of the bigger things. Um, we've tried to put together a schedule, but again, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, right on. That's awesome, man. I certainly wish you the best of luck with this endeavor. It's awesome, and it's for such a good cause. So I hope that's a tremendous success as well. Um, Anything that we didn't touch on? Did we miss anything that you'd like to talk about?
No, I think we covered it. Kind of,
Okay. Okay.
the main
Um,
thing just to highlight Young Life Northeast Columbia. They're doing wonderful things for our kids and our community, and I hope we can just rally some support for them.
cool. If people want to connect with you, is there a good way to do so?
Yeah, so my Instagram, Davis Strength Lab. I'm going to be posting live updates throughout the course of the adventure. So there'll be things there that pop up and kind of share the good, the bad, everything along the way. So we're going to try to keep active on there. But you can reach out to me there if there's any questions or if you have any desire to join. Please reach out and we'll try to give you an idea of where we think we'll be at any given time.
Fantastic, Michael. Well, best of luck with this. Thank you for sharing. I'm going to put everything in the show notes. So, again, good luck. I hope everything goes great for you, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Aaron.
Once again, I want to thank Michael, and just really wish him well in his endeavors. And if you can support, again, go in the show notes. You can donate there. Just really a great program for kids to support kids and make them feel loved and wanted. And just, I've got a number of kids on the cross country team that are part of the Young Life program, and you can really see the difference that it makes. So if you can support it, it is such a worthy cause. So once again, Michael, thank you and best of luck. Here in the world of running is life, we just got back from Raleigh. My wife and I took a trip to Raleigh, Durham, that area. The NXR Cross Country Regional Championships, that's the Nike Championships, were this past weekend, and I had a few kids racing. My own daughter is in her break. We decided after the Dash for Doobie to just give her a break. Her knee was not quite right. She was able to run and be fine. She wasn't limping or anything, but it definitely wasn't right, and it was just a good call to kind of give her some time off and let her recuperate, get healthy, so we can get back to training for indoor track. So I went there, and man, I get emotional every time I go back, especially when I run at Umstead. For those that don't know, I ran for NC State back in the day, from 1995 to 2000. And in my fifth season, I redshirted one. My fifth season there at NC State, I was on the cross country team that took third at the NCAA championships. And if you follow collegiate sports, the NCAA cross country championships were this past weekend, and the NC State women won. It was the fourth title that they've won in the past 5 years. An incredible feat. And it just, again, it makes me emotional just kind of thinking about it and running those trails and thinking about my friends that I miss. You go through a lot with those guys and girls. It's an incredible experience. My wife and I talked and reminisced about a number of friends and times that we can remember, memories that we've had. And it's pretty special. My coach, Coach Geiger, is still there at NC State and still working with the men's program. And he's got a picture on his desk. We raced in Indiana that year, and there was a sign that we were driving past, and it said the Geiger House. So he thought that was a riot. So we had to stop and take a picture. And it was, actually it was the 8 guys, 7 raced, and we had an alternate. And all of us were in front of the sign with Coach Geiger, and that picture is still on his desk, which is a pretty special memory. I did not have a great race that day. It was not my finest race, but thank God for the other guys, and that's the amazing thing about cross country is that there are 7 guys that line up, 5 that score. And, if one isn't having their day, then another hopefully can step up, and that day they did. So, fantastic, going back and running on the trails of Umstead, just kind of reminiscing about training there and doing workouts and long runs. And also doing the Umstead 100. That's a wonderful memory as well. Post COVID, so it was very minimal in regards to crew and pacers. We were only allowed to have one crew person there. If we took one person out on the course, only one crew member could remain. If nobody was pacing, then only one person could be at the crew station. It was an interesting time, but it was a wonderful race and such great memories. I saw so many friends and met so many new friends. Umstead holds a special place in my heart. I was reminiscing a lot on my long run. I had a 20-mile run on Sunday, and it's just incredible to think here I am. This is 2025, so I graduated 25 years ago. I've gone back to Umstead pretty much once a year at least to run and kind of I guess pay homage to my collegiate career. It was fun. Very reflective, very contemplative. And this heart rate thing, as Michael kind of talked, I didn't prompt him about that, I promise. But, this heart rate, it's working for me. It was visible today, having done 20 miles yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday as I record this on Monday. I had a 6-mile, recovery run today. And I'm keeping it in mileage just because that's what the challenge for December will be in, adding a mile per day. And that starts really soon. So I've just kind of been getting used to getting my mileage back up. Last week was the first time that I've hit over 80 miles in training in quite some time. But I've been doing it all based on heart rate. A lot of time spent and 60 to 69% of maximum heart rate. And it's really starting to show, on the recovery run today. I was seeing paces sub 9, and staying under 69% maximum heart rate, which the times are just coming down, which is incredible to see, just the benefit of this training. So, really enjoying that aspect of it and seeing the rewards from it. I've also had a big dietary change. I'm open and honest. I recognize that my eating habits were not healthy, even though I probably was eating less. I wasn't eating healthy choices. So I've kind of switched. I went to the doctor and had a physical. My wife said there could have been some reasons for it, but my family has a history with high blood pressure, high cholesterol. So even as a runner, that can affect me. So when I went in, my numbers were a bit elevated. And again, my wife said there could have been some things that contributed to that. I wasn't completely fasted. I had some coffee with some creamer. But even still, I don't want to take that risk. So my decision to go more plant-based, I wouldn't say I'm a vegetarian. I can still eat meat. I had fish last night, but predominantly I'm trying to stay plant-based. And, for those health reasons, for also just conscious decisions of what I'm putting into my body and what I'm eating. I wasn't eating enough vegetables and enough fruits, and now I'm really being cognizant of everything that goes into my diet, especially protein. That's the biggest thing, especially for recovery. Having done an 80-mile week, I could tell when I didn't get enough protein into, my daily intake, didn't recover as well. So, really have been diligent about making sure that I'm getting in enough protein from multiple sources. It's been, a change, but I've been enjoying the benefits of it. I've been feeling better in my runs. My recovery feels better. So things are trending the right direction. I've lost a lot of belly fat because my diet doesn't consist of a lot of fats, more healthy fats, if you will, like avocado and salmon and such. But yeah, it's changing my body and for the better. I've really wanted this change for a long time, and this seems to be a healthy, way to do it. So, but again, I have to be very conscious about what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So, between the heart rate training and the dietary changes, things are trending the right direction. As I discussed in my last podcast, I am growing, increasingly excited about this new challenge that's coming up in December. I don't know, I've never done this kind of mileage back to back, which sets me up for a ladder challenge that, I want to get through this one first and kind of see how it goes. But, I do have something else in mind to kind of chase this one. I'll recover from this one, prior to attempting the other, but, I am excited by it, and by these challenges. It has really made training truly fun while I kind of wait to see how 2026 sets up. So many different, lotteries and such. This is the first year that I haven't entered the Western States lottery. It's kind of strange, but at the same time, honestly, as I kind of said in the past, I just didn't want to. Not that it's not a great race, and I just think that, I've had two opportunities, and there are very limited spots, and there are people that really want to race it, and I think it unfair for me to continue to put in my name when I've had my experience, and I'm at peace with what I've done. I didn't get a silver buckle, but I gave it what I had, and my day this year just didn't work out. So I kind of put that one to bed, and that's okay. Maybe in some future time, if it really, kind of gnaws at me that I don't have a silver buckle, I take another stab, but I doubt it. Honestly, I really just think, I'd rather go out and support somebody else, crew, pace, etc., rather than, be a part of that event, as a participant again. So, but I do certainly, I'm looking forward to the Hard Rock Lottery that's coming up December 6th. Being a veteran, runner, I'm in a different, lottery. This next year has the direction that I haven't done. So, a lot, hinges on this lottery. So, being that I want to attempt the Rocky Mountain Grand Slam, I'd love to have Hard Rock be a part of that. Not to say that I wouldn't do the Rocky Mountain Grand Slam if I don't get into Hard Rock, but we shall see what happens when the lottery comes around and see how it goes. So, a lot of excitement right now. A lot of different lotteries and registrations open up next week as well, especially that pertain to the Rocky Mountain Grand Slam. So there's a lot to keep up with these days, and I'm super excited for it. Also super excited for my son to come home. He should finish up with his finals around December 12th and come home. And I'm excited for that. I can't wait to see him. He's back to running and training. I've been following him on his Strava and watching what he's doing, and I can see his paces are coming down and his mileage is going up, which is pretty cool to see. I hope he's feeling good and enjoying it. He had two teammates that went to NCAAs, and they both had pretty darn good performances. His team, if I hadn't mentioned it, finished 5th at the regional, the West Regional, which was great because their regional is just stacked. So it's for the Portland men to finish 5th was quite the accomplishment. So some good things happening out there, and really excited for Keegan. He will remain redshirted for the remainder of this year, but hopefully he'll be able to get into some open races and get to race a little bit. So I'm excited for him. So everything else is going great. Once again, thanks to you that have reached out to me about coaching. Truly, I really appreciate the opportunity to even have the conversation about it. So feel free to reach out. I do have some spaces that are available for coaching, especially leading into 2026. Some people have reached out, and we're not going to start until 2026, which is totally fine. At least I know that they're interested in coming on board come February, come January, whatever it may be. So if that's the case for you, please reach out. All of my communications are within the show notes, so you can look in the show notes and find ways to contact me. I really like having those conversations. So once again, I hope everybody enjoyed the conversation with Michael. If you can donate or want to follow along or go out and run with Michael, all of that will be in the show notes. Thank you again for listening, for being a part of the podcast. And until next time, my friends, keep moving forward. Running is life.